ask her how she's doing anymore. I ask her what her name is. And if she can tell me her name is Dolores, then I know she's fine. So that's our running joke. So if you ever hear that exchange, because somebody looked at me funny one day, I'm like, it's just our joke. It's just our way. Yeah, it's like, she not mad, so don't you be mad. All right, so good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all. It's good to have you all online. It is wonderful. So tonight we are continuing our study on practicing the way, which is the book on discipleship that we have been reading. This lesson closes out that first section. The first section with goal one that says, be with Jesus, right? That first goal that we have. And so the chapters that we're focusing on tonight are find your secret place and you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Now, I'm sure when you read that title, you were thinking, whew, that sounds good, but how do we do that? So, our lesson at a glance, the big question that we're trying to answer is that if being with Jesus is the foundation of the apprentice life, what does it actually take to protect and practice that in the life that we're already living? So, how do we take what we're learning and fold it in to the lives we're already living? So, our central theme tonight is being with Jesus requires intentional space and an unhurried life. Without a secret place and without dealing with hurry, the presence that we long for keeps getting crowded out. Because it's real easy to say, oh, okay, I'll get to prayer when I'm done with all these things. Or I'll go talk to God when I'm done with all this. And when we're hurrying and hurrying, we forget because we're caught up in what we're doing instead of being focused on God and what God has for us. So, my opening question for you over the last few weeks, we have been talking about what it means to be with Jesus. In the past week, was there a moment when you were genuinely aware of being in Jesus's presence? What made that possible? And if it wasn't, what got in the way? So think about this past week. Was there a moment when you were genuinely aware of being in the presence of Jesus Christ? If you were, what made that possible? If you weren't, what got in the way? Yes, ma'am.
Well, this is, I know Nathan Gaines, you had asked about testimonies, and so it works out because I got one that answers the question. And it's that I graduated in December, and I was been thinking about, okay, well, I need a job in the fall because what I had was temporary. And the temporary one was supposed to end on Friday, and I was thinking to myself, okay, well, what am I going to do starting this Monday? And then what am I going to do in the fall? And all of these things, and stuff was happening, and it just felt like chaos and uncertainty, and all of these things that just weren't fun for me. It was actually really stressful and frustrating. And the answer when I felt like I was in God's presence, um, it was most frustrating on Wednesday. Thursday, I got a call to do an interview. And then on Friday, I had the interview and I got the job. And thank you. I felt like I was in God's presence, not so much because I got the job, although that was wonderful, but I felt like I was in God's presence because I had prayed Wednesday or Thursday, one of those things, one of those days. And I had said, God is not in confusion. God is not a God of chaos. So I said, well, God, you do whatever it is that you're going to do, but I know that whatever is happening, you're not a part of it. and I need you to do something because I'm frustrated. And when I got the answer, I felt like I was in God's presence because it wasn't just that you got this job. It was the fact that I knew that God had been walking me through that um, moment. He had been walking me through that time, and he made it. I don't believe that God punishes us, but I think that God allows us to see Him and what we're going through. And so I feel like He allowed me to be frustrated, and He allowed me to all of those things, so that I think He allowed me to see the chaos so that when He came through quickly and simply, I could recognize Him in it. And that was when I felt like I was in His presence because of what He allowed me to see leading up to that.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have an example? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I set it, I'm in the presence of God because I set a time.
Okay,
And it's usually 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning,
okay.
because I take care of my mother. So sometimes I go to bed earlier than I normally would go to bed, and I always wake up. And that's the time that is the most stillest time in the, for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people might, but I find that it's totally quiet, it's totally peaceful, and I can have a conversation with God without any interruption,
Okay.
no interruptions.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can be up, I can be in the bed, I can be wherever, and it's just the total peaceful, uh, I can pray, and it has never been like, some other time if I want to try to pray during the day
Mm-hmm.
or something, phone ringing. So every time I would try to put something, something would pop up. But at that point between, I guess, what they would say, the midnight hour, that between that hour is always the most quiet, the most peaceful, and I can have the most honest conversation.
Yeah.
And it's always every day, just about, or between the time before the sun comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wake up that time. I just think, well, I ain't gonna wake up. But I do, yeah.
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 And it's possible that God wakes you so that you all can have that time together. And so that's beautiful. And that's a great transition into our lesson for tonight because God wants us to set aside a place and a time so that there's a priority, right? Because most people, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, they be trying to go back to sleep, right? But you make it a priority to spend that time with the Lord.
I actually don't be that tired. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it might be a half an hour or an hour,
Mm-hmm.
but it's always around that time in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
It becomes a habit.
Yeah, yeah. And I do believe that our bodies adjust to what we make a habit. Yes, ma'am.
Well, it was interesting in the book how how I understood it was like I guess the author and one of his friends. The word set aside place is so abstract. There's like a different definition. Like Jim was saying how he'll go into his farm room and he'll pray like until the night, but then the other Jim was saying how he would walk in activity. But that would be his time
Yep.
to be with the Lord. So it's not so much of a place, I guess. It's where you meet him at.
Yeah. And but even walking, right? The place is in nature.
It's a place.
Right.
That moment
Yeah.
versus- Because my moment might be different from somebody's moment.
Oh, well, yeah.
That quiet.
Absolutely.
And then you got people who are active. And I was like, that's such a good example because he gives us words and we have so many different meanings. Like we think we have understanding of the concept, but you might get the concept one way and I might get another way to
Yeah.
come together.
It was also important to know that God has no no, time is nothing to God.
Right, right.
You know, he sits in
Yep,
that pocket.
yep.
It doesn't matter what, you know, there's no perspective of time, so.
And place too,
Right.
right? Because he's omnipresent.
Everywhere.
So let's actually look at the key terms that are on the front of your sheet. Um, because the secret place is a specific, intentional, recurring time and space that a person sets aside to be alone with God. Now, does that have to be a prayer closet? Not necessarily, right? Does it have to be a room? Not necessarily. So, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be the same place.
Right.
So, if you like to meet God in nature, well, maybe it's a park today, or maybe it's a trail tomorrow, or maybe it's, on the shore of the lake, the day after. It could be any of those things, as long as you're intentional about setting aside that time and place. So it's a specific, intentional, recurring time and space a person sets aside to be alone with God. It's not a feeling or a mood, right? Because regardless of what you're feeling or what your mood is, you should still be able to have a conversation with God. You should still be able to sit in God's presence, whether it's a prayer or not a prayer. Um, and it's a practice.
Yeah.
So for people who have the practice already, it's a lot easier to move around, right? Like, oh, maybe I don't have the same place every day, or maybe I don't have the same time every day, but because it's a practice, it's something I make sure happens.
Right.
But when you're just starting to develop the practice, it helps to have a single place and a single time, like you're making an appointment with God and yourself. And that you keep that appointment like you would keep a doctor's appointment,
Right.
or like you would keep um, an appointment with a friend if you're, going out to brunch. Because what you want to do is to have a time and a space that you can protect, that no one else is going to interrupt, that no one else is going to get you sidetracked. So 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning in your home is a lot easier than 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe sitting in a conference room at your job, or even sitting in your car in a parking lot where somebody can come up and rap on the window. So you want to have a place and a time that you can protect, and that creates the conditions for a genuine encounter with God. So you don't want that place to be noisy. You don't want that place to be highly trafficked. I think I told you a few weeks ago, I would sometimes have my place in the shower because it was the one time I knew my child wasn't going to come in and ask me for something. The dog wasn't going to come in and want something. So I knew that if nothing else, I could have time in the shower. And even though it's not a long time and it's not a great place, it was a place to start. Yes, ma'am.
And I have it like this, like before I go to work, because I go to work early in the morning. And that's my time. Before I go to work, I have coffee and do my little reading and praying and everything. But throughout the day, like if I go to the bathroom, I might pray, sit there for a minute. Or if I go to my locker room, I might sit and pray if it's quiet. So I break it up sometimes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it's great to be able to break it up. The point here, because we should, the Bible tells us to pray without ceasing,
Right.
right? So we should pray whenever and wherever we can. But the point here is that regardless of what you do the rest of the day,
Right.
there should be a time and a space for this one encounter. And so here, let's go. So the chapter Find Your Secret Place. The author opens the chapter with a simple observation. Jesus had a practice. Before the demands of the day began, before the crowds gathered, before anyone else was awake, Jesus went to a solitary place and prayed. It wasn't an occasional thing for him. It was a rhythm that he fell into. It was something that he created. So the biblical context for this is that the gospels record this pattern repeatedly. Mark 1 and 35 describes Jesus rising before dawn to pray after a full day of healing and ministry. Luke 5:15 through 16 notes that even as crowds pressed in for healing, Jesus often withdrew to lonely places. Luke 6 and 12 records him spending an entire night in prayer before choosing the 12. The secret place was not where Jesus went when things were quiet, it was what made everything else possible. So he withdrew from the noise, from the craziness, from everything else, all the other demands that were pulling on him, so that he'd have time to have an encounter with the Father before going back out and doing what he needed to do, what he was called to do. And so, what Comer is saying is that as disciples of Christ, that we need to create a similar rhythm where we go away. So, whether it's to recover from something that we did all day the day before, or to prepare for something we have to do all day today, we need to have that secret place. So in Matthew 6 and 6, Jesus assumes his disciples will pray privately. He does not say, if you pray, he says, when you pray. Go into your room and close the door. The word translated room is the Greek Timaeon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's Tameion. It's an inner chamber or storeroom. It's the most private place in the house. Jesus is describing a real physical withdrawal from public life, not a mental attitude. So some people say, oh, you just have to incline your heart towards prayer or meditate a little. No, he's saying get away from everything so that you can focus on me, that you can spend time in my presence before and after everything else that occurs in your life. So the author's practical challenge is this. Most of us do not have a secret place. We have good intentions about prayer and we have scattered attempts at it, but not a consistent, protected time and space that we actually return to. He's not calling for perfection, he's calling for a decision. Pick a time, pick a place, and start showing up there. And then once you get into the rhythm, yeah, you may be able to do some things a little differently. You may be able to mix it up a little because, Jesus traveled. And so as Jesus traveled, he withdrew into different spaces, but he still protected that time and space wherever it was. But until we create that rhythm, the author is saying, pick some place, pick a time, and don't let anything interfere with it.
That's why I think I like my time.
Yep.
I pretty much know around that time, I'm gonna be the same place, I'm always gonna be, no matter where I'm at, I'm gonna be in the bedroom somewhere, I'm gonna be somewhere sleep of atmosphere.
Yeah, yeah. So does anyone else have a secret place like Sister Tammy? Even though it's not secret, but it's her place. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, me too.
The place, because I don't think it's supposed to be a secret place. You pray wherever, anytime it is needed. I pray 24 hours, 7 days a week, and I stay in repentance. In this here day in life of this world, what's going on? You have to. Yeah.
Absolutely. The Bible does tell us to pray without ceasing. The Bible definitely instructs us to stay connected to the Lord. For this book that we're reading, it talks about a secret place, not that it's secret, but that it's private.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we call it secret, but it really is that it's private because Jesus did tell his disciples, go to your room, close the door, and pray. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't pray anywhere else. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't pray anywhere else. But for that concentrated time in God's presence, at least once a day, as disciples, we should have time where we're not going to get interrupted, where we're not going to get distracted, where we can stay focused on the Lord.
And not always, it's not always prayer either. That's
Right.
what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
If I wake up, sometimes, I mean, I do pray, but sometimes I'm asking for forgiveness. I'm thanking,
Mm-hmm.
like thanking for another day, because it's usually another day, because it's after midnight. And also, it's just sometimes just having a conversation
Mm-hmm.
about the world, about the family, about our
Mm-hmm.
children, our grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a, it has become, there is prayer involved, because like she said, I do pray during the day.
Mm-hmm.
If something happens, or someone calls me, or there's a situation, but it's more about just that time of having a conversation with God, and sometimes, in prayer, uh, a lot of times we're asking God for something or whatever. I have learned to stop doing that, more or less. Maybe just sometimes just having a conversation with God, or maybe telling him how I feel, you know.
Well, the wonderful thing about prayer is that prayer is simply a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, we sometimes get stuck on thinking that prayer is asking God for something or even telling God something, but prayer should be a conversation, and conversations go two ways, which means that in prayer, there should be space for listening to what God says back to us, for what God wants us to do, for how God might be leading us. We should be listening for the voice of God during that time as well. And so when you have that conversation, that's even more so. And then think back to last week's lesson, right? The gentleman that sat in the back of the church and just sat there. And somebody asked, what are you doing? And he's like, I look at him, he looks at me, and we're happy. I mean, so we just know that God is present and that God is with us. We don't have to ask for anything, we don't have to say anything. We can just be there knowing that God is there with us. Sometimes, with all the craziness that we have going on in our lives, just being able to sit still and say, God, I'm so glad you're there,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
and not say another word, and just let him, you know, take those cares away, ease your mind, lift those burdens. You don't have to say anything else. You just let him be there. Yes, sir.
How you doing? Good afternoon. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when you say, we don't question God, things happen. Just like tonight, coming out here, I went downstairs, my face was flooded. I thought about what my mother always tell me, things happen, but don't question God. Don't ask God why it happened to me. 'Cause he don't have anybody, his whole world is his, the Father, the Son. But she said, you never question God, if you have a mishap or whatever, say, else, he will blow it over, you'll be okay. Yeah.
So
I'm still, like I said, I'm still thinking about that basement.
now,
But I can get back in line and doesn't think about it.
now I'm gonna push back a little bit, and I know your mama wouldn't appreciate me contradicting her, but I'm gonna say this like this: God doesn't mind us asking him why. God's shoulders are big enough to handle whatever we want to put on him. So, God doesn't mind if we're frustrated. We're human. We walk down to our basement and it's full of water. Lord, why? It's okay. It's okay. And let him answer you or let him tell you how he's going to help you get through it. But it's okay to say, why? It's okay to be angry. It really is because God will meet you where you are and help you get through it. Yes, ma'am.
In as much as you're talking here, and I don't question her, because another scripture that kind of sticks with me, especially as I have gotten at a certain age. In this life, we're going to have
Yeah.
trials and tribulations,
Yeah.
but be of good cheer.
Mm-hmm.
You say we might have, and
True.
and you say
Yeah.
we're going to have.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, handle your business.
Yeah. I'm not saying you have to question him, but I'm just saying that if you do get to a point of asking the question, God's not going to smite you for asking him why. Yes, ma'am.
But when that flood, because I don't know when your basement flooded,
Yeah, today I went downstairs.
today,
Yes, and then
mine been kids for 5, 6 days. My whole 3 rooms, it never flooded, it flooded my whole basement. But I said, then I had to throw everything, I got about 30 bags in the front of my house, I had to call the, garbage to let them know it's out there, and more coming. And I said, that has to be, I know it is the cleansing of the Lord, cause then I just took everything and just threw it out. Okay.
Okay.
And then when I was on my way here, and it's raining out there, and the other people's houses is getting fixed. But I saw those folks out there working in, on that porch, and it's out there raining though. They have no fear of the Lord. But we was taught, when you hear that thunder, that's God talking. You better go somewhere and sit down and obey. And then they made it up that if it's sunshine and coming, the devil be his wife. But we don't know how to talk that, because we got to know about the devil. We don't need to know about the devil. All that is seen and unseen. So where's all of this H-E-L-L coming from? They spoke it into existence and they still speaking it. And I'm just bringing this to light to you guys. When you answer the phone, do not say hell low, because everybody know hell is low. We done spoken into existence. They snatched us up from over there. They beat the living daylights out of us. They took us out of Africa and brought us here. And we done built this, they done took everything from us, and they got to cease. Period. Point blank. And then you answer them to Lucifer. Because we didn't make Lucifer blonde head and blue eyed. But you got that blonde head, blue eyed man up there and calling him the president, but he's not ours. He has no business in our midst. Only
I
thing
think,
he got to do is separate.
yeah, I thank you for your input, but I want to make sure that we get through our lesson that we have scheduled for tonight. Okay, thank you.
Let me just toss in one thing. We have to remember in the idea of asking God questions, that one who walked before God almost perfect, it was his servant Job.
Mm-hmm.
And Job questioned
Blessing
God.
God.
Yep.
And things got worse for Job than they have for us so far.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing,
Um,
all God's got going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
so the next question I want to ask you all is that, Jesus withdrew to pray even when the demands on him were greatest. So what does it say to you about the secret place or the private place that he needed it most when he was most busy?
Recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I mean, he was God, but he was still man too, and had a physical body, so
Mm-hmm.
he needed to recharge. Everybody, I mean, Jesus slept too.
Yep.
So, you have to recharge. Everybody has to have a moment in their whole day of recharging. You know, that's why we have to sleep. I mean, if you don't, sleep at least within 24 hours, you start to break down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely recharging. Any other ideas? Any other thoughts?
It's like, that's when we most need his strength. That's when I most need his strength.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, like you had said, that God wakes, God will wake you up because He wants that time with you. Like that's what you said, and that's what I feel to be true. Because after you do it for long enough, and you don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
I feel this strength or I feel this support of being able to do it. But if I hadn't been doing it regularly, I don't know if that same strength and support would be there because it's from God. And when you said it, I thought about when he was about to get hung, and he said to the disciples, I don't know the exact word, but like don't stay awake or pray or something so you don't
Yes, but
fall
stay
into
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
temptation.
stay awake that length of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait.
So like pray so that you don't sin. Pray so that you don't fall into temptation. And then when it's the hardest, I think that that's where his strength is. That I have to go there when things are like this week.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's the most difficult, where else am I gonna go?
Yeah.
Or how else am I gonna get the strength that I need to get through it?
Right. Yeah, some people look for strength in other places, but we know that we can get strength in our time with God. So we can get recharged, we can get strength. Is there anything else?
For me, I'm an early riser, and that's my time with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
It's where I have no distractions, and I get my strength, I get my recharging and
Mhm.
everything, because I feel that connection with Him at that time.
Yeah, we get connection. We can also get guidance.
Yeah, that too.
If you got a lot going on and you don't know if you're coming or going, guidance is something that you can get during that time as well.
I get understanding.
Yep, you can get understanding.
You know, I get a better understanding as to why I'm going through it,
Mm-hmm.
and that gives me strength to continue to go through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get the answers to the questions you don't ask.
But you have to be loyal and true to God as well. And the only thing we have to do is follow the Ten Commandments. That is so easy. Will be true. All you gotta do is be good, period. God is good, not sometimes, but all the time. And all the time, good is God. But they don't understand that.
Very good. Yes, God is good all the time.
Yes,
So this,
along with that, and a little bit off track of that, what she just said. Although we don't really know ourselves the way God knows us.
that's right.
He knows our hearts.
Yeah.
Although we might be sidetracked and do a little
Mm-hmm.
something off the chart, but He knows deep down, He knows our heart.
Yeah. Yes, he does. So the second chapter that I asked you to read was about eliminating hurry. And so the the section takes its title from a line attributed to an author named Dallas Willard, who was talking to uh, John Comer on a phone call. And he said, "You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life." And so when our author pressed him about that comment, the response was, hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life in our day. And so our author takes that diagnosis seriously. Hurry is not just a scheduling problem where we've put too much on our calendar, it's a spiritual problem. A hurried person cannot be a present person. And you cannot be with Jesus if you are never actually present. Because when you're in a hurry, your mind is always on the next five things that are ahead. So you may be doing one thing, you may be in one meeting, but you may not be fully present because your mind is somewhere else. And so, how many times, think about it, sometimes you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have some time with the Lord. But then you start thinking, oh, what am I gonna make for dinner? Oh, I gotta go to the store. Oh, what happens when, like, my child is gonna come home and want, so there's all these different things going through our head because we're in such a hurry that we're not present. And so the idea is that we have to eliminate hurry from our lives. And so historically, one of the striking things about the gospel accounts is that Jesus never appears hurried. Think about it. All the different things that we read about Jesus doing, and he did a lot. He is never hurried. He's interrupted constantly, and he receives each interruption as if it is exactly where he was supposed to be at the time. He stops for a bleeding woman in the middle of a crowd, pressing toward a dying child. So he was on his way to a dying child, but his full attention was on the woman who touched the hem of his garment. He lingers with Zacchaeus when the whole town was watching. So instead of worrying about the crowd, he was focused on Zacchaeus. He takes time for children when the disciples think there are more important things to do. And this isn't because Jesus didn't have anything to do. He had all kinds of things to do. He had literally had the weight of the world on his shoulders. But he also had a ministry of only 3 years to accomplish it. But his place was, by every gospel account that we have, unhurried. His pace was unhurried. So our author's argument is that this was not incidental to Jesus's character. It was the fruit of his private place, his secret place. So if you think of the practice of spending time in God's presence as a root to our tree, or a part of the vine that we are attached to, then the fruit that what became part of Jesus's character was this unhurried pace of being present with everyone that he encountered. And that could be fruit for us as well. We don't have to be all over the place when someone is with us. Psalm 46:10 frames it theologically, and it's real simple. Be still and know that I am God. The Hebrew word translated be still is rapha, which means to let go, to release, to cease striving. So knowing that God is not available to the striving, rushing, always on soul, we have to be still and we have to choose stillness. We can choose stillness over hurriedness. So Comer identifies hurry as a condition of the modern world that we have almost entirely normalized. It's normal to see folks rushing around everywhere. It's normal for us to feel like we got to rush around everywhere. It has just become what life looks like for us. We are busy by default and treat margin or stillness as laziness or luxury. If you're sitting still, then you must not have any, and you don't have anything to do, then something wrong with you, right? Some of us grew up with parents that if we were sitting still, they're like, don't you have something to do? Here, go do this, right? And they'll give us another chore. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was in a field where you couldn't just sit, because they kind of,
Right.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
I like doing stuff.
But we've taken that and taken it even further, right? So let's say you have a 9 to 5 job. Some of us end up taking work home, depending on the field that you're in, right? Because, oh, I didn't get everything done 9 to 5, so I got to get some stuff done at home. Teachers, they don't have time during the day to grade every paper. They don't have all of that luxury. So they end up taking stuff home.
Except my mom, she retired as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I used to just work at home, so that was saved.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a long time ago, but I was so happy, that was the best thing during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
People actually started realizing people could work at home.
Yeah. Yeah, because it reduced some of that crazy hurry that we have. Um, so Comer challenges our assumption about needing to be busy all the time by saying that busyness is not faithfulness. A full calendar is not the same as a fruitful life. And the cost of constant hurry is not just exhaustion, it is the slow erosion of the inner life. Hmm.
Yeah.
Like we start to, yeah, we start to die, but we start to lose our ability to even connect, not just with God, but with one another.
Right. And when you see a person that have what you call anxiety,
Hmm.
and they so busy all the time, running on here, running on that.
Some are, yeah, some are.
Slow down.
Hmm.
There's a couple in the Hunger Center.
Hmm.
And it's like they all over the place. Hey, sweetie, slow down. You making me nervous.
Hmm.
I'm so busy doing nothing.
Hmm.
You know, like I have a set time to pray, but my mind goes back and forth. Sometimes I have to say, that would get back,
Hmm.
so it just wavers back and forth sometimes. So what do you do for that? You pray to God to get you
Yeah, you
centered?
and you keep practicing it, right? The more that you practice being still and in God's presence, the easier it becomes. Now that doesn't mean that, you do really well for 2 weeks and then it pops up again, because we all are going through something and something will pop up, but we can still, you know, go back to it. And sometimes I think the best thing to do is to practice sitting still,
Yeah,
and not necessarily reading, not necessarily talking,
right.
but just sitting still and focus on feeling the presence of God. Just say, Lord, I invite you to sit with me,
Yeah.
and sit there and see, how long you can just sit there feeling his presence without thoughts jumping in. And you might do 3 minutes one day,
Yeah.
and then the next day it might be 4.
Okay.
And then the next day it might be 10, and then you might go back to 8, but it's practice.
Right.
And that's why the author is saying, find a time, find a place, keep it sacred,
Uh-huh.
so that the more you do it, the easier it becomes, the closer your relationship with God becomes, and then the easier it gets.
You have to pray on us.
Hmm.
The enemy sometimes, when he sees you trying to make that connection,
Hmm.
the phone will ring, or like you said, the dog will bark, or
Hmm.
something will come up.
Yeah. And somebody might even put it into your head, God's not God's not really listening to you, right? Somebody may try to do that. I was speaking to a young person the other day who was telling me about um, a program that God had put on her heart to develop. Well, somebody was like, "Well, what you doing that for? You trying to take over the church?"
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, wait a minute. This doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm just trying to do what God said do." And so, but people and the enemy will use all kinds of folks to get in your get in your way. But the more you focus and the more God sees you, like, oh, all right, there's my daughter Debbie. She trying to spend more time with me today. Let me listen, or let me sit with her.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because God will sit with you. He will sit with you. So the practical prescriptions that the author offers are not complex. He says simply slow down physically, drive slower. I have an issue with that. I know that I'm working on that. I'm working on it. I swear I'm working on it. Drive slower, eat slower. It's better for your digestion anyway. Eat slower. Stop multitasking. And the social scientists have already proven that multitasking is not a real thing. It actually slows you down. You think you're saving time, you're not. You're making things worse. I can show you the studies. Protect your Sabbath. Guard your mornings. Learn to say no. Yeah, now no is my favorite word. No, no is my favorite word. And when I was writing my book coach said no is a holy word. And so when you think about no as a holy word, it helps you to create those boundaries. It helps you, helps to keep you from having people take advantage of you. No is a holy word.
I gotta get there.
Yeah, we gonna work with you.
You are gonna get there one day eventually, but then something.
No, but we gonna work with you. So no is an important word. No, we have to know how to say no. And these are not like hacks for productivity. These are really acts of resistance against a culture that will consume every bit of you if you let it.
The world just takes.
It will swallow you whole. It will swallow you whole. So, what does hurry look like in your life? And what does it cost you spiritually? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I know at one time Hurry was looking like, hurry up and read the Bible. So you're not reading with your spirit, but you might just be reading with not tradition.
But out of obligation?
Yeah, but you still will go off on somebody in a scenario. So you didn't really suck like you're supposed to suck.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you was sucking like you're supposed to suck, then you would have kept quiet.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't let your flesh deal with it.
So you were reading to say you read as opposed to reading to actually get something out of it at that point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You want to consecrate your time to the Lord because you know that He is most important, but you have to do it in such a way where your insides are with it too. So you already doing it, you got to get in like you're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
You still create environments where your flesh is answered and not what you would do. What would Jesus do?
Mm-hmm.
But I would hurry would look like, or then you hurrying to get all over the place. It's just bad.
Anybody else? What does hurry look like for you? And what does that cost you spiritually?
I would say it's a similar thing. I started this year putting together my time and my space with God. And I go every night before I sleep. And it gets to a point now where it's like I can, even if I don't want to, I do. It's kind of like a thing where it's starting to become like glue. But the reading is still more rushed than time taking.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just decided that it's just going to be the way that it is until I get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm seeing areas of growth of like, okay, well now I'm coming whether I want to come or not. So that's step one.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as I keep coming, then eventually I'm going to slow down, and then I want to be able to start listening. And so I know that I'm rushing, but I'm sort of making space for God to move and grow me in
Okay.
that space.
Okay. Okay.
But also, like the job thing, that was rushing for me in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. I was rushing ahead, and I was like, okay, well, what's going to happen, and when is it going to happen, and when are you going to give me my answer? And I want to know right now. And so it was like that. I think that's another area in which I was.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's very real. That's very real. And that's real for a lot of us because we get excited about something or we get anxious about something. And it's like, all right, well, I prayed about this yesterday, so where's my answer? Like, what's taking you so long? Right? We get like that, and we have to remember God's timing is different,
Yeah, much different.
and that we have to get out of the way and let God do what God is going to do.
Because sometimes you get used to God. God will give you something like right away.
Sometimes He will.
Or give it to you a couple times right away. Once you get it right away, then you assume, oh, he's gonna do that all the time. And then when he don't do it, then you like, well, what did I do?
Yeah.
You know, why you mad at me now? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, rushing for me is when it's not reading the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not reading, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
Or I'm busy. And or not coming to Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll come for a while, then I'm rushing doing something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or the seasonal change, and I'm like, I don't have time right now, I got
Mm-hmm.
this, gotta do that. Then I'll say, okay, well, you know, I'll always find something though else. If I'm not coming to Bible study, I'm still gonna come to church.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not coming to church, then I'm still gonna, I every day have that presence with God.
Mm-hmm.
But rushing to me is not being able to do everything
Yeah.
in one swoop.
Yeah.
You know, like you should be going to church, but then a friend of mine said, well, if you're not doing it all, if you're doing something,
Mm-hmm.
then you're doing something. You have to learn to fit it all in. At one point in time, you can't do everything that you want to do, then just do what is most important to you.
Well, and then, but if we go back to the beginning of the section of the book, the point is to fit our lives around God as opposed to fitting God around our lives. So, instead of, well, do what you can do, it's like, no, do what you know you're supposed to do, you want to do, what you're prioritizing, and make everything else fit, or let something else go. And that sometimes is the hardest thing. You know, we have to want the presence with God more than we want whatever else is getting in the way of our presence with God. And that gets hard, especially when it's connected to your job. You talked about, they want their money. Well, I worked for an organization once where we were a statewide organization and the headquarters were in Columbus. My office was in Bedford Heights. But as part of the senior leadership team, I had to be in Columbus every other week. Well, I also worked on the team that had to be in committee hearings at the State House. So I would leave early on a Wednesday morning, and I would look at Mark and say, 5:30 in the morning, I might be home tomorrow, but I probably won't be home until Friday because it was that up in the air and we were that hurried. And we had a toddler. Well, she might have been, she was in kindergarten at that point. She was in kindergarten, but still, she was in kindergarten. And to not know when her mommy was coming home and not be able to tell her when I was coming home, that was insanity. And I did that for a year and a half until I could do something different. But I prayed, release me from this, right? And of course, I got released from it. I didn't like the way I got released from it, but because it's always something, right? It's always something. But what it cost me spiritually, yeah, I was dejected. I felt like, I had spent all this time building a career and this is what I gotta do. Right. And I didn't have, I didn't even have time with God on the road all the time because people would be calling from work. And, the cell phones are killing us, right? Because we are available all the time. And because it was work and it was the middle of the day, I had to answer. I couldn't just turn the phone off and turn the radio off and talk to God for those 2.5 hours. I had to be on the phone. I had to work. Yeah, and sometimes when I got there, no matter what time it was, we might be up till the middle of the night trying to get materials ready for the next day.
God always removes it.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, when I had my last job, it was, even though I was working at home, it was tedious.
yeah,
And I was taking care of my mother, and then finally they were like, well, we want you to come back into the office, a
yeah.
45-minute drive, and I just said no.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah,
And I didn't know either way it was how it was gonna go. I just knew that I just was not going to do it.
yeah,
Because, for a lot of reasons, it was like, yeah, it would have been just way, way too much. And, after a while, you get to the point where, like you start a career, a word of advice, if it starts off too much, it's gonna continue.
yeah,
You need to make a choice.
yeah.
Ready to take your license all the time. You
Yeah.
got to take your license. You got to go accountable. They gonna pay $20 an hour.
Yeah, yeah. So, we have covered a lot of material in the last few weeks because yeah, we've talked a lot about what it means to be with Jesus. So in our second session, we had the foundation, right? Learning about Jesus as the rabbi, and that the first goal of every apprentice is to be with him, not to serve him, not to study about him, but to abide with him. And we looked at what that meant for the disciples physically and what that means for us today. In session 3 last week, we looked at the reward. Eternal life, by Jesus's own definition, is knowing God, and therefore the reward for following Jesus is Jesus himself, not what he provides. So we looked at what it means to desire the giver and not just the gifts. And then today, it's the practice. Being with Jesus requires a private place and an unhurried life. Without both, presence gets crowded out repeatedly. So we are pausing the series for revival. So for the next 3 weeks, we will have revival. We've got 3 dynamic preachers coming starting at 7 o'clock every Wednesday for the next 3 weeks. And that's going to be a gift for our study, because now we've got 3 weeks where the one assignment that I have for you is to practice what we've been talking about. You don't have to read ahead yet. You don't have to prepare for the next session, but just be with Jesus. So here's what I want you to take into these next weeks. First, find your private place if you don't already have one, or strengthen the one that you already have. Decide on a time and a place and show up there every day this week. Even if it's just 5 minutes of intentional presence, it's better than nothing. Second, identify one source of hurry in your life and do one concrete thing to reduce it. So, whatever you're hurrying about, try to reduce it. You don't have to overhaul everything in your life, just change one thing. And then when we come back together in 4 weeks, we will begin section 2, which is Be Like Jesus. And I promise you, those of you who arrive having actually practiced being with him will have something to bring to the conversation. So go be with God, because God is already with you. But feel his presence. Yes, ma'am.
And number 2, say identify hurry in your life.
Yep.
And change it.
No, do one concrete thing to reduce it. Reduce the hurry. So if you getting up earlier might be one way of doing it. Cutting something out might be another way of doing it. Prioritizing things might be another way of doing it. So, figure that out. Now, of course, you do have some reflection questions. So for those of you who like to journal, you can journal about these reflection questions over the next few weeks. What would a secret place look like in your actual life right now? Pick a specific time and specific place, write it down, show up there this week and see what happens. Journal about what happens. Think about where hurry is most damaging your ability to be present with God. Name one concrete thing you could do differently. Not a resolution, just one next step. And then over this section, we've asked, do you want Jesus or mostly what Jesus gives? Are you experiencing eternal life now in the form of actual ongoing communication with God? And where are you with those questions today compared to where you were at the start of the section? Yes.
Paper pack,
Uh-huh.
what you were reading there just now, so I
Uh-huh.
won't be trying to write all of this.
It's in your, it's in there. I always give you your reflection questions. No, I'm reading them so that you're not like, what's she talking about? Yes.
So revival next week is here at church.
Yeah, revival is here at the church in the sanctuary, 7 o'clock.
7 to 8 or 7 to 9, or whenever it starts.
Yeah, seven, I'd say 7 to 8:30 because we don't know how the spirit is gonna move. Hopefully God will let the fire fall. Yeah.
Maybe the one you just made that. I'm thinking because of those preachers that were going to and I know you clarified already, but I don't know if there are other people in the church maybe that are also thinking that same thing.
Okay.
Because the name of the pastor and the church is there, so I initially thought, oh, I'm going to that church. I know I'm coming here, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
We'll do a follow-up.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you. So as we close tonight, I'm just gonna read Luke 5:15-16 and Psalm 46:10. Yet the news about him spread all the more, so that the crowds of people came to hear him and to be healed of their sicknesses. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Be still and know that I am God. So go find the quiet because Jesus is already there waiting for you. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
We still buy those books.
Yes. Because you still get one.
So if I bring it, 60 on Sunday,
Uh-huh.
if I ever get a win,
Let Sister Michelle know that you want them so that we can order some more. Are they, tell them they gotta come to Bible study.
there's some of my friends that were apprentices.
Okay.
And so, I mean, just because it was apprenticeship I served, who I served with, it was really like, yeah, we spent time, you know, it was fun. It into me, so now I'm understanding how to spend time with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
This is your way of following, you know, across the market. Yeah, you was stuck, yeah.